I'm Nick. This is 10 Minutes with Nick. Excuse me. And first and foremost, I would like to issue an apology to the gentle 31 listeners of the podcast. First and foremost, as always, thank you for tuning in. Second of all, our Tuesday episode was a little emotionally charged. There was a lot of... Let's put it this way. I had a lot of strong feelings. I wanted to get those feelings out, and I wanted to say those feelings into the internet because that's what we do in today's day and age. We scream into the camera and we scream into the internet. I wasn't really doing the thing that I hate, which is processing my emotions. I was trying to get a point across to everybody. Essentially that no matter what side of a conflict you fall on, I've made my side very clear at this point. I had some friends who really did a nice job of helping me to see both sides of the humanity of both sides of the conflict. Not Hamas's side. Hamas does not get a side. It's not a triangle of people. It's Israel and Palestine. Palestinians are largely innocent in this whole thing, and they're the ones who are bearing the brunt of the ongoing war between Israel and Hamas. And that's, like any civilian losses in a war, that should be mourned. We should be actively working to find other ways to resolve the conflict without putting them at risk. And we're probably not doing a good enough job of that right now. Now, that being said, I'm going to move to a different topic today because if I were to go on that topic again, I would lose my mind. And unfortunately, my mind long since took a vacation, so I can't really lose any more brain cells. Ooh, excuse me. I just got off a plane this morning, and for some reason, it's making me have to burp. Don't know why. Maybe I decompressed weird. Anyways, I want to talk today specifically about finding joy and doing things that make you joyful at times like these. It's very easy, I think, to get caught up when the news is bombarding you with stuff like this. There's no doubt that the war in that part of the Middle East should occupy some of our collective consciousness, because nothing can change if it doesn't occupy at least some of our collective consciousness. But you also can't stop living your life. And really, this connects to topics I've done before. I've talked about this before. Basically, you can't stop living. Because if you stop living, it doesn't really matter. The world moves on without you. And that's never a good result. So today, I want to talk about how to find joy in times like these. First and foremost, find a way to block the news for periods of the day. Long periods of the day, short periods of the day, whatever you need to start. I got to tell you, you individually at this moment will not have an effect on what is happening over there. I'll say that again. You, gentle listener, unless you happen to be part of the IDF, the Israeli Defense Force, or you happen to be part of aid workers in Palestine, there are certain situations where you can have an effect, but you likely cannot have an effect. I think most of my listeners are in the border of the United States. If I have listeners who are outside the border of the United States, drop a comment. Would love to connect with you and know more about where you're at. But if you're inside of the United States, there isn't a whole lot you're going to do. And that can create a lot of angst and a lot of stress, because as human beings, we like to think that we have effects on things. We like to think that when we push, things move. I'm sorry to tell you this, you ain't that big. You ain't that big, and that's a good thing, because for most of us, we push impulsively. We know that based on the conflicting news stories that are coming out right now about damage done to a hospital in Gaza. But that's neither here nor there. the reports are still conflicting. I don't know what the truth of the matter is, so I'm not going to report one way or the other. Just a hospital was hurt and more civilians. God bless it. More civilians were hurt. You're not going to have an effect on that no matter what. So what do? Well, this is a good time to connect with friends that you haven't talked to in a while. Obviously not toxic friends. Don't go out and be like, oh, this is a good time to call up my ex. It's never a good time to call your ex. Just don't call your ex. Just don't do it. You know better. I know better. You'll still make that mistake. But let it be known that I, on 10 Minutes with Nick, am going to advise you not to call your ex. Your ex is for a reason. Let sleeping dogs lie. Call friends who you haven't spoken to in a while. Reconnect a little bit. Let them know you're thinking about them. Let them know you care. Connect with family you haven't connected with in a while. Let them know you care about them and let them know you're thinking about them. These are good things to do at times like these when it's sort of, we can feel unanchored, we can feel unmoored. If you're focusing on building a career like I am, dive into that a little bit deeper. Push on that a little bit harder because you can have an effect on that. And your career is still there despite all the craziness going on in the world. And you know what? Push out the noise for a little bit. It's okay. It's not going to get any better or any worse by you reading CNN and trying to decipher what's going on. It's completely okay. You're going to be fine. Catch up on the news tomorrow. Instead of saying, oh, I'll do that work tomorrow, catch up on the news tomorrow. Let the news be put off for a while. You're just going to save yourself and you're going to make yourself a little bit happier. And then when you read the news again, you'll be in a stronger mindset and you can understand it a little bit better and you can ask the right questions instead of just sort of reacting impulsively. And do something fun. You're allowed to do something fun. The fact that other people in the world suffer, there's nothing. It would be one thing if you were having fun at the expense of somebody who was suffering. That's just like, if you were having fun at the expense of somebody who was suffering, then in that situation, you might want to change up what you're doing. But in the case of the Israel-Hamas war, most of us in the United States, there's not a whole lot we're going to do. We can donate, we can protest. Protest what? I don't know, but I know that there are a lot of Palestinian protests. I'm unclear on exactly what they're protesting, which requires more research on my part before I say yay or nay. But regardless, those are activities people can take. You really just go out and do something fun. Go get dinner. Learn how to cook something. Read a book. I don't know, watch Netflix, but do something fun. I would advise, if you're going to do something fun, do something active where you're kind of moving around a little bit or you're working your mind. Reading a book, learning a new skill, going for a hike, something. But do something so that you're not just sitting there soaking in the fact that, oh Lord, the world is a little bit of a hot mess right now. Historically speaking, I'm going to tell you this right now. The world has always been a bit of a hot mess. It's never not been a hot mess. We do our best, but human beings, we sort of suck. We're not great at managing this planet that we're on. And that doesn't make it okay. It just means that it's the status quo. And the best you're going to do is try to make your little corner of the world a little better. That's the best you're going to do. And frankly, you've got more power in your little corner of the world than you think. Volunteer. Help somebody. Say good morning to somebody. Nobody says good morning in Los Angeles to each other. I walk down the street and I'll be like, what's up? And they won't say a word. It's weird. But try, smile. At least give somebody a smile. And not in a weird way. But just brighten someone's day. Say please and thank you. tip at the coffee shop. Doing like when you go out to a restaurant, do a nice tip. Pick a day where you're just gonna tip extravagantly if you can afford it. And if you can't afford it, find another way. But make your corner of the world a little bit brighter and find a little joy for yourself in what is somewhat dark times. I'm at the 10-minute mark, so that's all I got for you today. I'll see you next time. I'm Nick. This is 10 Minutes with Nick. Have a great day.